Ever wondered how we went from paying an arm and a leg for solar energy to it being cheaper than your monthly coffee budget? Well, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey from the 1950s to the present day, tracing the incredible transformation of solar energy. And don't worry, there won't be any pop quizzes on the way. In 1953, the US purchased the first commercial silicon solar cell from Bell Labs. But let's be honest, these first solar cells were about as efficient as a chocolate teapot. If you'd tried to power your home with them, you'd have been looking at a monthly bill that would make a billionaire wince, around $300,000. Fast forward 70 years, and it's a whole different ballgame. Solar energy is now cheaper than your favorite Netflix subscription, nearly 90% cheaper than it was in 2009. In many places, it's now cheaper to generate electricity with solar than with coal, natural gas, or nuclear power. It's like finding out that the generic brand cereal tastes just as good as the name brand. But this didn't happen by magic. It wasn't a case of solar energy stumbling upon a fairy godmother who waved a wand and made everything cheaper. No, this is a success story scripted by policy interventions from around the globe. The plot thickens in the 1970s with the oil crisis. It was like the world had run out of coffee. Panic ensued. This led to a massive push for alternative energy research and development. The US federal government, in a move reminiscent of a superhero origin story, allotted more than $1 billion to solar research and development. This funding was like spinach to Popeye. It made a huge difference and probably doubled the efficiency of solar cells. Enter Paul Maycock, a guy from Texas Instruments. Yes, the same Texas Instruments that made the calculators you used to pass math class. Maycock had a light bulb moment, pun intended. He realized that the more calculators they built, the cheaper they got. And he thought, why not apply the same principle to solar? If we build more, the cost will come down. It's like buying in bulk at Costco, but for solar energy. But before the US could really test Maycock's idea, President Reagan canceled Project Independence. It was like being ready to bake a cake and then realizing you were out of sugar. But don't worry, the recipe wasn't lost. Two countries were ready to step in and put Maycock's hypothesis to the test. Japan, like the US, had been hit hard by the oil crisis in the 70s. They started funding solar research and development around the same time. It's like they were both training for the same marathon. Soon, Japan developed solar cells small and powerful enough to run watches, calculators, and toys. It might seem trivial in terms of the global energy system, but it was crucial in getting large companies interested in solar. This know-how came in handy when the Japanese government announced a major subsidy for rooftop solar in the mid-90s. It was like they had just announced a BOGO sale on solar energy. But here's the thing. The global market for solar technology was still relatively small, like a niche indie band waiting for its big break. That's when Germany stepped in and truly changed the game. They were like the record label that discovered the band and made them mainstream. The most important policy in this whole chain, if I had to pick one, would be the German feed-in tariff. It was like a program that deployed solar at scale. Here's how it worked. Starting in 2000, the German government basically said to power companies, hey, if you can start producing renewable energy, we'll buy it from you. We promise for double the market price, and we'll keep paying you at that rate for the next 20 years. It was like signing a record deal with a guaranteed fan base. Even though Germany is not the sunniest place in the world, companies responded to the incentives by building solar farms like this one. In 1 year, the installations for solar went up by a factor of 4. And then, it just grew. The more panels they produced, the cheaper it got to generate electricity with solar. It was like a snowball effect, but with sunshine instead of snow. Then another country picked up the baton and made solar cheaper than even Maycock could have imagined. It was like passing the baton in a relay race, but instead of running, they were reducing prices. It all started with Deng Xiaoping in the 1980s. He had this plan for 1,000 Chinese students to go abroad and come back with new knowledge. It's like sending your kids to summer camp and hoping they come back with some useful skills. One group of students went to the University of New South Wales in Australia, where they worked with a team that was producing some of the most efficient solar cells in the world. After a few years, one of those students went back to China and opened up the country's first commercial solar manufacturer, Suntec, in 2002. With that new German law in place, the company had so much success selling solar panels to Germany. Suntec's success attracted competitors, which helped drive down prices. It was like a price war, but everyone was a winner. Policymakers around the world noticed the falling prices and wrote laws to create new markets in their countries, including the United States. It was like they all wanted a piece of the solar pie. The United States passed an important law. It's called the Energy Policy Act 2005. And buried deep within that law was an investment tax credit. It sounds kind of boring, but it turns out it was absolutely critical to deploying solar. It was like finding a golden ticket in your chocolate bar. This sparked a phenomenon called solar leasing, where companies would look for places to put solar so they could reduce the amount they owed to the federal government in taxes. It was like a game of hide and seek, but with solar panels. Other policies helped create markets for solar modules in Spain, Italy, and crucially in China. The Chinese devised their own subsidy program that was modeled on the German one, where you get a guaranteed price. By 2011, China was not only the biggest producer of solar, but the biggest producer of solar electricity. It was like they had just won the Solar Olympics. In the course of a single lifetime, solar energy has transformed from a niche technology to the cheapest way to bring clean, reliable power to billions of people around the world. But the markets that brought us these lower prices didn't just magically appear by some invisible hand. Political leaders in countries all over the world created these markets, then subsidized them for decades to the tune of billions of dollars. It's like they were all in a baking contest, and the result was a delicious, affordable solar pie. By investing all of that money, they got the price of solar to come down so much that it didn't need to be subsidized anymore. It was like teaching a kid to ride a bike, and then they can do it on their own. We're also doing that on purpose with things like batteries and electric vehicles. And we're doing that with things like heat pumps. Solar provided us with a playbook for how to do that for other technologies. It's like solar energy handed us the cheat codes to the game. So, there you have it. The incredible journey of solar energy from being the expensive new kid on the block to being the affordable, popular kid everyone wants to hang out with. And remember, this didn't happen by magic or by accident. It was the result of deliberate decisions and policies made by countries around the world. It's a testament to what we can achieve when we work together towards a common goal. And if we can apply the lessons we've learned from solar to other technologies, who knows what we can achieve? Maybe one day we'll be talking about how we made space travel as cheap as a plane ticket. But until then, let's keep soaking up the sun and enjoying the benefits of affordable, clean energy. And remember, even though solar energy is now cheaper than ever, don't try to get a suntan from your solar panels. They're great for powering your home, but not so great for getting that summer glow.